David, thanks very much indeed for giving up some of your time to talk to ESF Works today. For people in the audience who don't know you, perhaps you could start by giving us an idea about what you do here at NIACE, what your role is.
Well, I'm the Chief Exec of NIACE, which is a kind of a medium-sized charity. We've got about 100 staff, and our job is to promote adult learning. So our job is an easy one, really. We go out and tell people what adult learning is, what it does, how it can help people transform their lives, how we can change society by getting more people learning. And I spend my time trying to persuade government to put more money in, trying to persuade employers to think about adult learning in a different way, trying to promote it to the general public, and making sure we've got good ideas on how to do it better.
NIACE has been working with ESF for some years on Adult Learners Week. Can you tell us a bit more about Adult Learners Week and what it is you try to achieve with it?
Yeah, well, Adult Learners Week started 20 years ago, so we're in our 21st this year, which is fantastic. And I think the aims really are very similar. You know, what we want to try and do with it is to get more people aware of what adult learning is and what it can do for them, and more people given a chance to have a go. So part of it is about celebration of fantastic people who've learned and whose lives have just changed dramatically as a result of it. And we do that through an awards ceremony. And part of it is about putting on thousands of events locally where people can just drop in and have a go at learning without having to make a big commitment. And I think it's that balance between the kind of the celebration and the publicity, and we get lots and lots of coverage in national and local media, as well as the chance for people to have a go. So you inspire people with stories, you say, blimey, if she can do that, maybe I can do it. If they've had a go at that, maybe I could have a go. And then you give them the chance to have a go. We also do a bit of kind of discussion with government and employers and trying to really get to people to say this is really important to remember. So it's celebration, it's kind of promotion, it's having a go, all in 1 week. And we put an enormous amount of energy and effort into it every year.
This year you've introduced a more thematic approach to Adult Learners Week, focusing on things like learning through art, through sports, through culture, as well as the usual focus on employment. What's the thinking behind that change? And is there any danger that might dilute the message at all?
I don't think it dilutes it. I mean, what we're trying to do really is to get into all sorts of different settings, because the beauty of adult learning, and in a sense the danger of it, is that it's everywhere. It happens all over the place, in all sorts of different places, with all sorts of different people. So the sport one, for instance, we thought there are lots and lots of football clubs up and down the country who are putting a lot of energy into community education. And actually it'd be really nice to bring them into Adult Learners Week and get them to feel that it's for them as well as for everybody else. And it's the same with other themes, you know, getting the museums and libraries involved is another way we can get out to people and we can extend our reach. So I don't think it dilutes it. I think it just kind of recognises just how ubiquitous adult learning is, and says let's go to those places, let's work with those people, let's work with those organisations that are in contact with adults in different places and where adults have a different motivation, you know. So you get involved in adult learning not for its own sake, you get involved in it because you're interested in sport, or you're interested in culture, or you're interested in women's issues, or you're interested in health, and therefore it's a really good hook to bring people into adult learning and to promote it in a different way with different people.
Does that mean then that you're bringing in more football clubs and so on?
Yeah.
It's not something you've done before.
Well, it gives us that chance to target, you know. So we have invited lots of football clubs in, and we're hoping that they'll get more involved this year. And I think it will build. I think, you know, it's not a one-off. I think it's a way of engaging people over a period, because the people who do get involved at local level in Adult Learners Week really see the benefits of it for them and for the people they're trying to support. And therefore we want to kind of build that up, because more than anything else, Adult Learners Week is a big community movement. You know, it isn't about NIACE. We're at the head of it and we do all we can to support people. But there are 4,000 events going on in that week, not just our big awards ceremony, which is great fun and is a fantastic experience, but that's the pinnacle of it. But the essence of it is much more grounded out there with partners. And we couldn't do it without all of those partners helping and supporting.
There can be a bit of a tendency, particularly when money's tight, amongst the people that are paying for programmes, amongst their supporters, see them perhaps in rather utilitarian terms as a means to an end of tackling unemployment, getting people into work. Is that a view that you subscribe to, or do you see it as rather broader than that? It
has to be much, much broader. And I think there are lots and lots of times when people get involved in what might look like a kind of a non-utilitarian, you know, not something that's hard, skills, job focused. And actually what it does, it gives them that ambition, that taste of learning, that sense that they can learn. So many people have gone through the school system and had a bad experience and think learning isn't for them, that it's something that other people do. And what Adult Learners Week does, and what kind of utilitarian, non-skills focused, non-employment focused learning can do, is bring them back into feeling confident about themselves, giving them some self-esteem, giving them a sense that maybe through learning they can do something about their job prospects, something about how they work in their community, maybe help them with their children. And we know from thousands of examples that if you engage people in learning positively, in something that motivates them, then actually nearly always that leads on to other benefits. It benefits them in terms of themselves, but it nearly always benefits them in terms of their job prospects, their work and employment prospects, their prospects when they get into work for promotion, their engagement in volunteering, their engagement in their community, their engagement as citizens. They will vote more often, they will be democratically participating as well. So to see it as just simply about jobs and skills for work, I think it's just much too narrow. People don't do it just for those reasons. They do it for all sorts of other reasons. And the benefits are just fantastic. They add on to each other and become much more than the sum of the parts.
What's your evidence base for saying that? You talk very positively about learning, the benefits it can bring and so on. What sort of work do you do to demonstrate that, to show that particularly those knock-on impacts really do occur?
Well, I mean, at one level, there's the fantastic anecdote evidence, which perhaps isn't, research evidence that you can cite, but, we know that every award ceremony we do around Adult Learners Week, there are some fantastic stories about people who have changed their lives as a result of getting involved in learning. They've turned around from sometimes very difficult personal challenges or societal challenges, and they've got on in learning. And even more, they've gone on after winning an award in Adult Learners Week to change even further and to get involved in things. So we've got previous award winners who've gone on to set up their own businesses, to promote learning with others, to become tutors and trainers themselves, to transform their kids' learning. And this year, we're inviting some of those people back to tell their stories after they've won the award, because those stories are as inspiring as the stories about when they went up and got their award. So there's all sorts of anecdotal evidence, but that we also know from all sorts of research and all sorts of surveys that people do move on in learning. If you do well in learning at any point in your life, then you're more likely to succeed in work, you're more likely to get promoted, you're more likely to earn more, and you're more likely to learn more. And even more importantly, and perhaps this is the most shocking of all, is that children's education is very, very linked to their parents' achievement in education. So there's a strong support element that children in families where the parents have been successful in learning are much more likely to succeed. So the benefits are enormous and widespread. Health benefits are very widespread. We've done work with older people in care homes where their care needs have reduced as a result of getting engaged in learning. They're across the piece, there's all sorts of research evidence and survey evidence to support it. But more than anything, you can see it. If you go and visit any of the ESF projects that you fund, you can see people being more positive, being more self-confident, building their own sense of self, building their ambitions, and actually unleashing some of their talent. And that's just fantastic to see, really.